What's up, everybody? This is DawgNation.com. Jeff Sentell, Wednesday Night Live, Before the Hedges. What's up, everybody? Trying to make sure everything is on the up and up. Checking in on YouTube. What's up, DawgNation homepage? What's up, YouTube? What's up? Checking in on YouTube. What's up? Big General, how are you, man? Michael Bush. Those are the first two names I see on DawgNation's Before the Hedges on Wednesday night on YouTube. Starting a little bit late tonight. Got a lot of things kind of in the fire. About 9 minutes late. Checking in at everybody. One of the things we're going to talk about today. Now, let me talk about our show tonight. So we're going to talk a little bit about the big recruiting visitors over the weekend. Obviously, you see the headline. You see the name Eddrick Houston Dylan Raiola. We've had kind of meaty updates from both of those young men on DawgNation.com this week. Of course, also our hearts today and this afternoon are pretty heavy because it was the memorial service today for Chandler LaCroix in Stevens County in Toccoa, Georgia. It was kind of a celebration of life there. I don't know if anybody watched the funeral. It was streamed live. We've got that to think about. Our hearts are heavy, definitely, with everything going on there with the passing of Devin Willock and Chandler LaCroix since our last show. But we also have a few things to talk about with Georgia football recruiting. We're going to have a top targets list for 2024. Got some new names in there. Obviously, two names have drifted off since our last top targets, which saw Jalen A.P. Hayward commit to Georgia. He was one of those he was on the watch list. And then also Peyton Woodyard back on January the 7th. But he was a number 4 target on the list for the entire class of 2024. He has since committed to Georgia. We got new names moving in. We got some new rankings to talk about for some of the 5 stars in the class of 2023, some of those guys that are already signed. We're going to talk about that. We're going to discuss. You guys got questions, feel free to drop them in there as well. I'm going to answer as many questions as I can tonight. And we've also got a pretty cool feature. I'm going to give you guys a little bit by this each and every week. Last week, I think you saw interviews from the All-American games. I believe it was I know you got to talk to Troy Bowles. You got to see Troy Bowles. You got to see Monroe Freeling as well. Tonight, we've got a pretty cool one. It was a dual interview. You guys remember some of those we've had in the past with Lewis Seen and N'Kobe Dean from the Under Armour All-American game. Well, this year we got Justin Rhett, cornerback commitment, who was a flip from Notre Dame, and Janelle Aguero together to talk about a lot of things, including their great 5-star collection of body art. Really cool thing there. Both of those very intelligent young men, very motivated young men in the class of 2023 as well. First and foremost, let's start talking a little bit about what I thought was a very big visit this past weekend. It was on Sunday from Eddrick Houston, 5-star. He's up to about 6'4", 265 pounds. I don't know if you guys have all read the update that went up on DawgNation.com yesterday morning, but I'm of the opinion that every visit that Eddrick Houston takes to Georgia is a very big visit. I think he's an absolute game wrecker. He's the type of young man that Georgia has built its championship defenses around. I think he'd be the ideal 5-tech for Georgia when Georgia doesn't have a lot of 5-techs in their program right now. And there's everything about him that just screams a guy that Georgia, he's got those N'Kobe Dean vibes, those Jalen Walker vibes, those Nolan Smith vibes, Trayvon Walker type vibes. He played 3 sports at Buford High School. He was a wrestler last year. He's not a wrestler this year. He's got a labrum issue with his shoulder, but he's going to run the 400 meters and the 4x400 meters. First of all, for me, that is a big whoa. No 5-star defensive lineman in my time doing this runs the 400 and the 4x400 relay for his high school track team to stay in shape. He thinks it helps him with his explosion. He thinks it helps him with his burst. Coming out of the blocks. I think he helps him coming out of his stance. He told me now he doesn't really want to make his decision until his senior season. He wants to take his official visits inside his senior season. Georgia's a school that's always stood out for him. He loves the way Everything about Georgia was amazing, he said after his latest visit. He loved how the fans came out in the cold and watched it. Just loves everything about the program. I think Georgia and Ohio State continue to be the teams to watch there. Also with Eddrick Houston, he also told me that he's probably just going to come out with a top 5. He's not big on a top 12 or a top 10. Just not that type of young man, not that type of person. And for the longest time, it's already started to feel like Ohio State and Georgia have been really big in that recruitment. Eddrick actually grew up in the state of Georgia. He grew up in the city of Atlanta. His ideal dream would be to come back and play pro football in the NFL for his hometown Falcons. And his family did grow up Georgia fans. So there's a lot of things there, I guess, that are working in Georgia's favor at this point. Loves the connection with the coaches, loves the relationship he has with Kirby Smart. And then there's another name to talk about. That's Dylan Raiola. Now we had we had a big update, first one in a while we've had with the Raiolas that went up on DawgNation.com yesterday. Now I get it, guys. Sometimes I can hear Brandon in the back of my head saying sometimes you got to give the people what they want. And I know what always recruiting folks want to hear about is they want to hear about 5-star quarterbacks. They want to hear about the nation's #1 overall prospect. That is Dylan Raiola. Dylan's not sure about any visits in January. He didn't take visits in January a year ago, and they kind of like that plan. Visits will probably open up for the Raiolas back in March. He knows he wants to visit Georgia. He knows Georgia. I think his father told me that they consider Georgia to be one of the gold standard programs in Georgia football. It was very interesting when I asked him what he likes the best about the Bulldogs. And his father said what intrigues him the most is he calls it productive paranoia, how Georgia, which seemingly has the most talented roster in the country, or arguably one of the top 2 or 3 most talented rosters in the country, how everybody's just on edge because of the way Kirby creates a culture that everybody's gaining or everybody's trying to take something from the Dogs that they deserve or they have to go earn. And Raiola, who spent 14 years in the NFL, his jersey's up there, retired at Nebraska. He was an All-American at Nebraska. His brother is actually the line coach at Nebraska right now for Matt Rule. Another school that kind of is in the mix there, Nebraska, USC, Oregon, kind of the teams to watch there. We discussed how it was really cool for them to spend the national championship game in a box with Uncle Matthew. That's his godfather. Matthew Stafford, of course, talking about there. So, really one of those things where the best part about the Raiola story is I like how the Puglisi story, those young men kind of feel they've been led to believe that Georgia's going to take 2 quarterbacks. And Puglisi, can't forget this young man, very impressive young man, very confident young man. He knows he's going to go to college to compete. And he knows that anywhere he goes, he's going to face talented guys, talented arms, talented dudes around him. And that's why it sounds like Puglisi is at home at Georgia. He's committed to Georgia. He's not going anywhere, no matter who commits to Georgia. And that's kind of the ideal recipe for Georgia, which did not take a quarterback in 2023. One could make the summation that if Carson Beck plays and starts in 2023, he has the acumen, he has the skill set, he has the pro makeup where he could be a one and done, like a kind of Mac Jones type player at Georgia. And that would leave Georgia with only 2 scholarship quarterbacks going into 2024. That's why, obviously, Raiola and Puglisi make a lot of sense in the class. Best possible class for Georgia in 2024, folks, is going to have Raiola. It's going to have Houston in that. And this is one of those things we're just going to have to talk about, chop up each and every week on Before the Hedges as we build towards the 2024 cycle. Obviously, the way Georgia stands nationally, it's a pristine reputation to say the least. You guys got any questions? I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to look through both feeds. So that's the YouTube feed and also the Facebook feed right now, and also the DawgNation homepage. You guys got a question? Anything you want to talk about? Anything you guys want to discuss? Feel free to drop it in the feeds below, and I'll play point guard. I'll answer as many questions, whatever I can answer that you guys have on your minds tonight. Rid You Fly, pretty funny. Yeah, BA was kind of salty about the AD news today. Noah Sheldon is looking for the next Javon Bullard, 3-star in the 2024 class. Noah, you will see a top targets list later. Richard Fly, I don't know the chances are if they're strong with Jarrett Gibson, as most might think. Michael Bush, Big General, how's everybody out there? Jay Shipes, how are you, sir? We see, how's everybody doing tonight? Hope everybody is. Suzanne Akins, good question. Where do I think Dom goes? I think there is a chance potentially that he would return to Georgia. I think it's going to be really hard for Dom to just acclimate himself with playing somewhere else besides Georgia. Also, the thing to think about there is he's going to go find a place where I think they're going to throw the ball a lot. They're going to, put 4 wide receivers out on the field a lot, where Dom can get about 50 catches, 900 yards, 8 scores, kind of like a Josh Downs type season. I think that's the thing, with a lot of stats and a lot of numbers. I think stats and numbers are also kind of driving the A.D. Mitchell decision there as well. Like he's got the rings, he's put in the work. I think now he wants to put together the final piece of like a first round resume, because listen, A.D. Mitchell, guys, folks, he does have that first round type skill set. I remember when I first started chopping up his high school film with the great Terrence Edwards on DawgNation for a special edition we did, kind of looking at a lot of signees, especially the wide receiver position. Terrence Edwards brought up the name Justin Jefferson as a player that's a good A.D. Williams parallel there. I think what Dominic is looking for, Suzanne, to answer your question, is he's looking for a place where he can get a lot of balls and get a lot of numbers. Let's see. Let me see what's going on Facebook. Hop on over there. What do you guys think about the transfer portal today, having it reared its ugly head? What do you guys think about that? You guys got a reaction? What kind of stings? What kind of stays with you? I think it's a really good debate. I've seen a lot of people having this debate about kind of what goes into, is A.D. Mitchell a DGD? I thought that was an interesting point we had on our kind of breaking news conversation on DawgNation.com earlier today when the A.D. Mitchell news broke. It's just kind of one of those things that, I'd kind of been hearing that for a while, that, that A.D. Mitchell was a guy that was going to look to go to the portal. And that's one of those things you just kind of wondered and see if the championship and getting featured again in the playoffs was going to be enough for him to stick with Georgia. Let me see. Question. Maurice Farmer. I'm not sure your comment right there. I don't think you say I missed on all of them. I don't know what I missed on at all with any of those names. What I simply do in this program is I simply list the guys that I think are the most important targets for Georgia in the 2023 class. Steve Rogers hates the portal. Randy Hall, good question. Who plays center if SVP leaves? I think that's Austin Blasky is probably the guy that you would look to there. First of all, SVPG would be a tremendous loss. Just a great all-around young man, great all-around person. When you were looking earlier, somebody asked earlier about, who's that guy that's going to play well above his ranking. I know Sokovie White is not a 4-star across the board in the industry. Folks, you're just going to love that kid. He is going to do everything he can for Georgia. He will have, at the minimum, a Ladd McConkey type career at Georgia. That's, kind of calling that now. Simply a playmaker, can play all over the field. Simply a football player, leaping ability, great on the basketball court, plays cornerback when he has to for his high school team. He's just built to win. He's just simply a winner. Tell you what, Michael Ward, that is certainly somebody to watch right there as well. Travis McCullough, I do like your new avatar there with a 77 on there as well. Also since our last show, you've got this is our last show. What we'll talk about is a kind of commit up palooza right now with the 2025 class. Micah DeBose. Little tidbit about Micah DeBose from Viger High School. Does anybody know the last Georgia Bulldog that came out of Viger High School? If you do, I'll owe you a Coca-Cola, man, because that's a pretty good pull out of the trivia box right there. Also, they get Justice J. Terry, a guy at 6'5", 270, already built. Looks like a junior or senior in the 2025 class. That's a top 40 overall prospect, defensive lineman. The Dogs kind of just stacking up what they're doing right there on that. Really good. Ken Feinberg, I see you're asking about commitments. You got 2 that Georgia just got this week. G. Freeman has an interesting take about the portal. He says he loves it. They got 2 studs and lost 1. Thinks that's going to be a good trade. Stephen Burton wants to know about Delp being surpassed by Pierce Sperling. That dude looks great. I think the thing with Sperling you got to watch, and then potentially Deuce. I'm going to try if I can answer a bunch of questions at once. This is actually Deuce's weekend, birthday weekend, and he's out in Hawaii at the Polynesian Bowl. Bo Hughley's out there. I don't know if you guys saw him dancing on my Twitter feed that I kind of retweeted earlier today. But this is a weekend where, Deuce is trying to kind of figure out where he needs to go. Does he have time for more visits? Can he go see Texas again? Can he go see USC again? Can he go see Georgia again? Can he go see Alabama again? Oregon's the school he talked about as well. But with Deuce and Sperling there, those guys are really guys that have never really played tight end before. For me, I think the guy that's going to make the quickest imprint and play the fastest at Georgia as a pure tight end now, I think that's going to be Lawson Lucky. I think he's got really great routes, but he's got game experience, 3 or 4 years being a traditional tight end. I think Lawson is very underrated in this class, and he's going to be able to do a lot of things that Georgia asks a tight end to do. And then he's also going to be a plus weapon in the receiving game as well. Very good hands, very good routes. Terrence Edwards has even said that he thinks that no tight end in the country runs better routes than Lawson Lucky. Now, big fan of Pierce Sperling as well. I saw him at the All-American Bowl getting really strong on-the-job training at tight end. He was kind of mixing it up with Alabama commits in the middle of the game. Still trying to figure out that position. Sometimes he was blocking over his toes, as a lot of O-line coaches would used to call it. Not really centered. Not really displaying the proper technique he needs to do inside of a game. But all that stuff will come with Pierce. I think Pierce has really changed his body. 6'5", 245. Absolutely loves Georgia. Got great ball skills. Got a great catch radius. The running routes and the catching and getting open parts of his game, he'll be able to do that pretty well. But I think the transition for him is just the traditional tight end stuff at Georgia. And you can say that stuff about Deuce Robinson as well, because he didn't really do that this year in his high school as well. I'll tell you what, I got something I really want to show you guys. Hopefully we've teed it up by now. Randy Hall, the question for Viger High School, thanks for paying attention, was Mitch Davis. Everybody remembers Big Bad Mitch Davis, the outside linebacker. It was a little bit a while ago, but, man, he was a great linebacker for Georgia as well. Stephen Burton, good question. Good guess, at least. Tell you what, let's do right now. I teased it. I teed it up. You guys are going to learn a little bit more about Janelle Aguero. You want to learn a little bit more about Justin Rhett. Those two guys have some very impressive body art. It looks like one of them has leg day body art and one of them has arm day body art. Actually means something to both of those young men. Here's about a good 5-minute conversation on here on Before the Hedges, brought to you by Kroger. On Before the Hedges, let's check it out right now. Janelle Aguero, All-American signee, and also Justin Rhett, All-American signee as well, back at the Under Armour Bowl earlier this month in Texas. Excuse me.
Janelle Aguero, man, we're here, DawgNation.com, Tattoo.com. Tell me about your ink, man. Tell me, it means something to you, it looks like.
Oh, yeah, of course. So the clock right here, this is the time my little brother was born. And then this is my mom's name. I have the flowers around it because, that's my mama. And then this is a Bible verse. As I walk through the valley of death, I shall fear no evil. I come in everything. I don't fear nothing. No man, no nothing. And then I got chosen one because I believe I'm a chosen one. I got a tiger right here because, I'm just a tiger.
Was that all at once or was that little by little?
That was little by little. And then on the back, I got 781. And that's like my city. Yeah. I had to put it on me so, when I play on the big stage, everybody see me.
How long did it take to put all that together? Like 15, 16, 17?
15 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a lot. But it hurt, but, I thugged it out. Now it looked good.
But people wonder about that. It really means something now, too. It's important to you, right?
Yeah.
You've literally dedicated your life to really important things in your life.
Yeah.
And that's your only ink right there. Why you just got that arm?
I'm waiting. I'm going to get some before I leave. I'm trying to get my leg like him. His shit hard, I ain't going to lie. That shit hard. I got to get something like that.
Now, tell me, Justin, man, I mean, he just went arm day, and you went leg day, right?
Yeah, I went leg day, but I'm going to start with my arm. I got this is my granddaddy that passed away back in Iran, and this is the symbol for the culture, is the lion. So I got that together. And then down here, I got the Dan mask. This is my ancestor tribal mask from Africa. And I threw it on like a little African shoulder and some old time stuff. And then over here, this culture, because I'm really cultural. I'm about my culture. And then this World of Yours tag, I got this tag because I believe the world is yours. Man. Like everything in your hand, you got it. And I actually got one more thing in here. So I didn't want no random girl on my leg. So this is actually the bottom of this is my mom's face. Yeah, that's home. So yeah, that's home.
Now, these are both 5-star tattoos, right?
Yeah, so.
What's it like knowing that this is a guy you're going to DB with, you're going to run with, and he's almost a carbon copy a little bit, huh?
I mean, it feels great. You know what I'm saying? That's my dog, you feel me? As the days and weeks go by, you feel me? He's going to become closer and be teammates. We're going to be in that netty soon, so, yeah.
Guys, one of the things that's different this year, I've been doing this a lot of years, used to be guys that were going to Georgia would tell other guys that weren't here yet, like Deuce, hey, come with us, let's do something, let's build it. Well, now it's already built.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that like? Is it different? Are you telling it like, let's be next? Or what's the message you guys have for a guy like him?
I mean, honestly, I feel like it should just be a feeling for them. As soon as they see us come through, I mean, if they want to be a part of that, they're going to know whether to come or not. So that's on them, I feel like. Yeah, I agree with him, too. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you want to play with the best, you're going to come to Georgia. You're going to compete against the best every day in practice, on and off the field. So, really, it's the move.
When do both of y'all report? When do you report?
January 13th or 14th. I report tomorrow. So that's January 5th, January 6th. So, yeah, I'm going to be there.
So they're either going to be champions or not when you get there, huh?
Oh, yeah, for sure. They're going to be champions.
They're going to be champions, then we're going to have to get us one to get out there.
We're going to need one, too.
Is that – I've asked the guys this. It's a blessing? Is it pressure to go to a program that could potentially win 2 in a row?
No, I don't think it's pressure. I just feel like it gives me more of a drive. So, yeah. Same with me. Like, I don't take that as pressure. I just look at that, like he said, as a drive. It's more motivation. There's a whole bunch of dogs on the team. I want to be a part of that. I know I can go there and just compete with everybody and get better.
So every year I get 2 guys together, and it's probably you 2 guys, and I get them to talk about their goals for their career. Like in 2019, Lewis and Nakobe, know what he said? He said, we're going to destroy Alabama.
Okay.
What do you got in your mind for your career? Like, what do you want to have happen?
Well, first, I want to start as a freshman, be a freshman All-American, of course. Really just have a good, 3 years and be a first-round pick and win the national championship. That's what I want.
Yeah, I want to go up there, acclimate to everything, get my starting spot as a freshman as well, and just grind and just be the best I can and maximize my ability while I'm there. And I know having a great coach like Fran Brown, I'm definitely going to get that done up there. And I'll also say win a national championship as well.
For each of you, what was the biggest single reason why you're a dog?
I say the biggest reason I'm a dog is because it just felt right. I mean, I was committed somewhere else, and I got back on campus up there, and just reminded me that was the place for me.
For me, it was just, it felt like family. I know they're going to develop me to be where I want to be, so it was just a no-brainer for me.
Got a message for the fans?
Go Dogs, man.
Go Dogs, go Dogs.
We taking the tip.
Shit coming.
We taking the tip, man. You feel me? TCU going down. We winning it.
Sir, you know what it is.
Last one. What do you guys think about Deuce? What would he add to the team?
You got to come through. You need to stop playing.
Yeah.
Come through. Be
So
a dog.
you got to slide, man. That'd be a good little spot for us. We need him.
Awesome. Justin Rhett, Jonell Aguero, DBs. Georgia's got a lot of them. They're getting a lot richer at DB. Thanks, gentlemen, for your time at the Under Armour All-American game.
Dogs, man.
All right, guys, wasn't that pretty cool? You saw the body art. You learned a little bit about them. You learned a little bit how they already got a pretty good camaraderie there at the Under Armour All-American game down in Orlando. Got to spend a lot of time with those 2 guys over the course of about, 4 or 5 days there in Orlando as well before we made our way out to San Antonio. Aguero just basically got moved into Athens, I think, this week. He had a thing where Obviously, his private school wouldn't release him until a certain time. So that's with credits, I guess, or early graduation. Right, well, we're back. We hop in and we hop out. That's what we do here on DawgNation Before the Hedges. We can't hear me, and so the only way we fix it is we disconnect and jump right back in to the show. Of course, Before the Hedges is brought to you by Kroger. We were talking about those two dudes. I was talking about Justin Rhett and how I think got a really great story to tell there. Not a lot of written about Justin Rhett. That was one of those guys I wanted to seek out and talk to down in Orlando. Great family situation, motivated guy. Some of the guys that have trained him have trained NFL guys like Ray Rice, other players like that. Justin's about 197. Big dude coming into Georgia. Has got a body built for the SEC already. And lots of folks think Jonel Aguero might be their low-key, down-low pick to be the starting safety beside Malachi Starks by the time the Dogs start playing some real ball in the 2023 season. One of the things that we mentioned earlier, Before the Hedges, is brought to you by Kroger. Great partners with DawgNation and UGA Recruiting. Kroger's been a great partner to us for many, many years now, back when the screen door was squeaky, back when Peaches was a little bitty pup. And, one of the things you guys got to think about, Kroger. What goes through my mind is the Kroger Boost. We have our segments on DawgNation we produce called the Morning Boost. But what Kroger does is it really boosts your game when it comes to buying groceries. Not only do you get the grocery delivery, you get that free grocery delivery, you get your groceries delivered to you, but also, for just $59 a year, you also get the ability to save on a lot of things. You get to save on fuel. You can accumulate, twice as many fuel points, which will allow you to save as much as $1 per gallon on your gasoline purchases. And, who couldn't help themselves to saving money at the pump these days or at any day through a great partnership. You get your groceries at Kroger, you get your morning boost, you get the Kroger Boost. It's their grocery delivery program that also saves you a lot of money at the fuel pump. So you can feel like a 5-star when you're rolling with the Kroger Boost program. I know my wife loves it. My wife uses it. Grocery delivery is kind of how our family kind of survives some trying times right now and busy times like that now, especially when Jeff is on the road for like 12 days to beginning the month of January. Those programs, those services offered to you by Kroger, along with something called Chef Junior. Chef Junior is a program right now. You can go to Kroger.com, Chef Junior, and your junior chef. You got programs where they got plans where you can come in. They give a whole program where you can put together, cook a meal, teach the young ones right, teach them early, teach them right, teach them how to cook, teach them their way around the kitchen. And that's all brought to you by Kroger. That's Kroger Chef Junior program has been around for many, many years as well. Guys, I saw somebody earlier asking in the chat for some top targets, and they wanted to know what's going on. We got a new top targets list, got a whole brand new bag, got some new names right there. I'm sure everybody will not just immediately jump to the number 2 name on the list. Let's start with the 5-star Colin Simmons. He's there on the list right now. I think after the visit to Georgia, I think it was an outstanding visit for Georgia, but really it was kind of a tone setter visit for Georgia as well. That's in the class of 2024. Getting a little bit ahead of myself right now. Let's talk about 2023 because there are 2 remaining top targets in 2023. Those are the tight ends. That's really what Georgia's got left. There's Deuce Robinson now playing in the Polynesian Bowl this weekend. Mark Richt is actually coaching in that game of all things. And then you've got, how about a quick clap for Mark Richt coaching with that familiar Stetson hat in the Polynesian Bowl out in Hawaii. Good for Mark Richt. Good for him to be able to get that trip, get to go to Hawaii right now in January. Not a very bad gig at all. And also Walker Lyons. Now, Walker Lyons is a guy, we've written about him on DawgNation a lot. Really love that story. That's the young man out of Folsom, California. He is the nation's number 5 tight end, and the Dogs are really in that thing there with Walker Lyons as well. Walker is on his Mormon mission and will not make his college enrollment until about 16, 17 months from now. That will be in the middle of 2024 when Georgia's tight end depth chart will look a lot different. You see right now with Brett Seither and Ryland Godey in the portal, and then also Darnell Washington going to the NFL, that Georgia really needs to bring in 3 tight ends this year. And Lawson Lucky, Pierce Sperling, and Deuce Robinson would fit that bill. Of course, Deuce Robinson still got his decision to make, plans to make his decision on February the 1st. And at the same time, he just did a private workout with the Los Angeles Dodgers in baseball. He's a heck of a center fielder, 6'6", about 225 or so. And he is going to play both college baseball and college football because his dream, folks, is to be a pro football player and a pro baseball player. He wants to do that Deion Sanders thing. He wants to do that Bo Jackson thing, that Brian Jordan thing. Very tough deal to play two sports at once at the professional level. But that is Deuce Robinson's dream, and he doesn't seem bothered by the fact that that's a really incredible thing to do. That's been his dream, and he's going to go for it. And it's kind of funny, Georgia actually offered Deuce Robinson in baseball before they offered him in football. Good little nugget there to look at right now. And he has been in, contact a lot with Coach Strickland and the Georgia baseball team. One of the things to look at right now is we got another snapshot of the Georgia 2023 class. Like I said, some rankings have changed. On3 had put together its final rankings for the 2023 cycle. You saw where Jordan Big Baby Hall went all the way up to number 12 in the country as a 5-star. Another boost was given to Monroe Freeling, guys. Monroe Freeling was the number 7 prospect in the country and a 5-star as well on the On3 recruits ranking as well. Georgia currently has 25 signees. They have one commitment. That's Jamal Merriweather. We've been led to believe that it's really just about getting an ACT score back. Some schools require it. Other schools do not. Jamal, when he gets the qualifying score on his ACT, that's when he can sign. That's when he can, the university can announce him as when he's been accepted into the university. Georgia currently has 3 transfers in this class. Everybody knows the transfers, right? Dominic Lovett and then Ra Thomas, transfer out of Mississippi State, transfer out of Missouri, respectively. Lovett's the guy that's that shifty Isaiah McKenzie type receiver. Doesn't drop a ball, very sure hands. And then Ra Thomas is a guy that can play more outside, who had some success in his first 2 seasons at Mississippi State. The recent transfer commitment as well was Deion Smoke Bowie. I think that's a guy that can play star for Georgia and a guy that can play safety for Georgia. So if you're wondering who might be that other guy in the running for the safety position, there's David Daniel Savannah, and there's also Smoke Bowie. There's also Ja'Cory Thomas, and there's also Janelle Aguero kind of in the mix there to be the starting safety opposite of Malachi Starks for the 2023 team. Georgia's class ranks number 2 nationally, 11 guys on offense, 14 on defense, 1 special teamer. That's Peyton Woodring out of Louisiana. 5 guys in state, 20 out of state. Of course, you could arm wrestle me about that one and say, really, there's 7 guys in state because that's counting the way the recruiting services work. They count Pierce Sperling, who grew up in Georgia as a Florida guy because he spent his last 2 years in Florida, but then also a guy like Gabe Harris as well, who transferred to IMG Academy for his senior year when he grew up in South Georgia. Georgia currently has 2 5-star signees. They have 5 top 50 signees right now. All 5 of those are on defense. They have 12, count them, 12 top 100 signees. 10 of those are on defense. Good gosh almighty, Joe Friday, what that Georgia defense is going to look like after another reload. I'm telling you guys, I'm going to say it till I'm blue in the face, that 2024 team is going to be the best team of the Kirby Smart era, especially on defense. Georgia has 14 top 150 overall signees in this class. 10 of those guys are on defense. 17 signees are from SEC country. 8 are outside. No offensive players among the 5 highest rated. 2 offensive players among the top 10 highest rated. State with the most commits, that's the Sunshine State of Florida. State with the most offers is Florida. Take a look at the breakdown. You see there, I'm going to flow through it really fast. There's 1 running back in the class, Roderick Robinson. He's on campus. He was walking through the national championship parade. 5 wide receivers, 5 wide receivers signed. That includes the 2 transfers in Dominic Lovett and Ra Thomas. 2 tight ends signed. They're looking to add 1 to 2 more in this class. 2 tight ends are on campus right now as early enrollees. That's Lawson Lucky and Pierce Sperling. 2 offensive tackles signed. That is there's 2 signed, 1 committed. That's Bo Hughley and Monroe Freeling. Bo Hughley is not an early enrollee. He won't be at Georgia until May or mid-May. 2 cornerbacks signed. We're calling Daniel Harris and AJ Harris, the 2 cornerbacks signed. Daniel Harris is not an early enrollee. The other DBs that they signed is obviously Kyron Jones. They've obviously got as well. Chris Peel, those are guys that will not be able to show up on Athens yet. And they've also got Justin Rhett as well as Janelle Aguero, the safety. Peyton Woodring, the kicker, won't show up until this early summer because he is not a mid-year graduate. 2 interior offensive linemen. Those are both offensive linemen. Those are both signed. Doogie Miller is on campus right now. He went through the national championship parade. He is an early enrollee. The other one, Kelton Smith, will have to show up in the summer as well. The 3 linebackers are signed. 2 of those are on campus. That's C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson. Both of those guys went through bowl practices. Did you guys hear the shout out that Kirby gave C.J. Allen about being a perfect scout team member for the 3-3 defense for TCU? He did so to make sure he made a special shout out about C.J. Allen after the national championship as well. And then you've also got Raylan Wilson, and the Troy Bowles will not be able to enroll early. He is a traditional graduate who will show up in May or June as well. 3 edges, Gabe Harris on campus, David Wilson on campus, Samuel Mpemba on campus as well. Those 3 edge guys are all early enrollees. Georgia has really turned over that room with the 2023 class. 2 day defensive linemen, they're signed. They're also both on campus at Georgia. One of those, Jamal Jarrett. It was good to see him outside of his wheelie scooter from the foot injury he suffered during bowl practices. The other one is Jordan Big Baby Hall. We mentioned him earlier. Did you guys see the really cool video we had of Big Baby from the national championship dog walk? Big Baby literally gave the sunglasses off of his head to a Georgia fan in the parade. I thought that was really cool because, dude, he really loves him some sunglasses. And for him to give those up to a fan really shows how much he loves Georgia and how much he loves being a Bulldog already. And I think Big Baby Hall going to be a 3-tech, going to play very well for Georgia as well. Push some of those guys that are already there. I think Big Baby Hall is going to get the type of season in 2023 that I think Big Bear Alexander had in 2022. That kind of instant impact when he gets in there, he's going to make some waves. Let's talk top targets for the 2024 class. I teased this earlier. This is version 2.2. Everybody's wanting to see what's next for the Dogs in 2024. Take a quick look right here. You've got Colin Simmons here leading off the list, the number 10 prospect on the remaining top targets for 2024. Just really took his first really starter kit visit to Georgia. Interesting to hear some of the comments coming from him already. Kind of feels that Georgia's just different. It's different than anything else he'd seen before on the recruiting trail. And he'd visited schools like TCU and Texas and Texas A&M and LSU a lot. And Georgia has basically positioned itself as a contender for him after the first visit. Number 9 brought him back on the list is Sammy Brown out of Jefferson High in Jefferson, Georgia. I don't know. I talked to Sammy recently, and I really feel like, despite, every obstacle in the way for him not to choose Georgia, I think he really likes the chance to play at Georgia right now. Again, Georgia stacked up a lot of linebackers in the last few classes. The 2023 class, they've got the nation's number 2 linebacker already committed into Marcus Riddick out of Alabama as well. But I don't know, there's something about Sammy Brown that thinks he kind of likes a challenge like that. Number 8, Daniel Calhoun. Number 7, Papa Afua out of Seattle, Washington, the Polynesian offensive guard. I believe he's the number 1 interior offensive line prospect in this class. Cam Pringle's coming up with a commitment decision, I believe, this month, maybe in the next week or so. Ken Feinberg, to answer your question, Cam Pringle is a number 2 offensive tackle prospect in the country for the 2024 cycle. That's the number 1 prospect in South Carolina. Kind of hearing a Georgia-South Carolina battle right there. Number 5 on the list is KJ Bolden out of Buford. I think the best fit for him at Georgia would be as a safety rather than a wide receiver, but that's kind of the way he looks at Ohio State as well. KJ Bolden really loves the Dogs. Really, he told me recently that every time he goes to Athens, it feels like home. Number 4, another huge visitor from this past weekend was Ellis Robinson. The 4th, Georgia was his top school going into this weekend, and the Dogs definitely held serve there. Ellis Robinson looked very much at home in Athens on Saturday. The 2024 commits were kind of palling around with him and taking pictures. Be very interesting to see there. He said really nothing. The Georgia Bulldogs have done everything right in his recruitment so far. Give a big gold star there to Fran Brown in this recruitment as well. Fran Brown's definitely been a tenacious and effective recruiter for Georgia. I'll tell you what, Kirby really got a lot of smoke when he hired both Fran Brown and Chadira Uzodiribe in the last year. Really found a pair of younger assistant coaches that the guys really connect with, men of faith, men of purpose, and the families and the players have given me some great feedback about how well those two guys do their jobs and represent Georgia. Number 3, Mike Matthews, the big-time wide receiver out of Parkview High School. Really special football player there. Just got through visiting Tennessee over the past weekend. Number 2 on the list, Dylan Raiola, Chandler, Arizona. Like I said, this is just the time. I think if I'd had a show last week where we went through the top targets, we didn't get to those last week because I basically had been back in Georgia for about 3 or 4 hours by the time we did our show last week after I got off a plane. I think this is the time of year where, I think it's real with Georgia and Dylan Raiola, and it'd be very interesting to see how those visits go for the Raiola family in March. And the number 1 5-star, Eddrick Houston of Buford, Georgia. I just have a lot of incredible thoughts there about Eddrick Houston. I think he handles himself the right way. He's a young man that gives back to the game. He's guilty of, if anybody asks him how they get better and how they get offers, younger players, he's going to give of himself to do that. A type of player that just kind of speaks to me about a team captain type. A lot of times when I say that word team captain, it's about the best compliment I can get is a guy that could represent their university one day at a media days, could represent their university on the field, and be exactly what the coaches want as a reflection of the best of their program. I think Eddrick Houston is that guy. I still love that quote the head coach at Buford gave me about Eddrick Houston. What do you do when your most talented player is your hardest worker and the one that wants to win the most and the one that cares the most about your football team? What do you do when it's that guy is also your very best player? Remember Justice Haynes telling me that Eddrick Houston was just about unblockable in that one season they spent together. Just off the list, that list has shrunk a little bit. We'll start with Heaven Brown-Schuler, another great visit to the University of Georgia on Saturday. The Dogs are really a school that I think has made a strong impression on Heaven Brown-Schuler and his family. DeAndre Carter out of Mater Dei. King Joseph Edwards out of not no longer out of Buford. Now he's transferred to Mill Creek. Another guy got another great visit to the University of Georgia. C.J. Jackson, love his story. DeMello Jones, Charles Lester, Cam McHale, Dwight Phillips, Dylan Stevenson. We're adding a name right here in the 4-star edge, Dylan Stewart out of Friendship Collegiate out of Washington, D.C. Folks, Dylan Stewart's about 6'5", incredible length, incredible size. He was at Georgia for the national championship celebration as well. Great visit for the Dogs. Dogs really made up a lot of ground with him, and Dogs really made a strong impression on Dylan Stewart as well in the class of 2024. Jalewis Solomon out of Schley County, in Ellaville, Georgia. And then a really cool story, Fletcher Westfall. Can't wait to tell you his story out of Leesburg, Virginia. That guy has put together a novel way to look at his recruiting, to say the least. Fletcher Westfall. You guys will read that story on DawgNation.com maybe in the next week or so when all these guys stop committing. Anyway, guys, that has been a Before the Hedges. Thank you guys for hanging out. We got all kinds of conversation about folks. I see you guys talking in the feed about Eddie Gordon. Folks, that is a huge loss. One of the things, if we want to sit here and have a debate, what's the bigger loss for Georgia football? Eddie Gordon as an assistant offensive line coach. Eddie Gordon was instrumental in a lot of key recruitments for Georgia over the last couple of years. Ernest Green III was one of those. He's basically moving up in his profession to be an on-field coach there at UAB. Quite happy for him as well to make that transition to an on-field coach. Coach Gordon certainly deserves that. Let me see. Awesome. Got guys talking about him. Cool. Let me see. I'm going to take one last look through YouTube. And guys, hey, thanks again for hanging out here on Before the Hedges on Wednesday night as well. Let me see. Awesome. All right, guys, I got a couple of interviews to do tonight. Got a story to file. Actually, you guys look for it in the next maybe 15 or 20 minutes on DawgNation.com. I put together a piece that will, I feel kind of reflects the life of Chandler LaCroix and what she kind of meant to those who cover Georgia and those that are in the Georgia football family. Be looking for that. Probably post and show up on your notifications on your app, probably in the next 15 or 20 minutes off DawgNation.com. That was one of those stories we put together to, give proper tribute, proper honor to the life of a young lady who really gave her all to Georgia and really knew what it meant by the phrase, "It's great to be a Georgia Bulldog." Again, if you guys saw the ceremony today from her memorial service and celebration of life in Toccoa, Georgia, it was certainly moving, to say the least. Anyway, guys, I'm Jeff Sentell. That has been your intel each and every week on BeforeTheHedges.com, brought to you by Kroger. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming in. And we'll see you guys again later on the pages of DawgNation.com. Go check out Kroger. Go take advantage of that Kroger boost. And we'll see you guys again real soon here on Before the Hedges. Take it easy, everybody. God bless you. And we'll see you next week.